Did you know that Thanksgiving is actually a pagan holiday?
Did you also know that the reason that we have stuffing or dressing as a tradition is because of an ancient pagan goddess? The legend or the pagan tradition here was that she would essentially kill these people by cutting them in half that she kidnapped, and then she would hollow them out and then stuff them with like other people's insides or like the insides of animals and whatever.
You know, it's funny, while both of those are completely and totally true and historically backed, the craziest one is actually where we get gravy from, because that is absolutely disturbing. You see, whenever the Pilgrims came, they were actually viewed as being this god that all the Native Americans worshipped, known as Pilgrim. Now, this one is the reason why we call them Pilgrims, is because the Native Americans first saw them, thought that they were like a manifestation of this god. Now, the creepy and craziest part is the way that they would worship this god was through a very disturbing ritualistic sacrifice, where they would basically take a person and fatten them up, and then they would cover them in blood and flowers. Now, not flour, they would literally cover him in flowers. And so this person, after they would get them fattened up and covered in blood and flowers, this is actually where the entire concept of gravy came from, because they would take his fat later, after all the blood, flowers, everything, they would end up taking his fat and melting it down to a very fine liquid-like substance after sacrificing the guy, of course, and then they would mix it with the blood and flowers. And today, obviously, we just take the fat or the grease and then we mix it with flour, but that is actually the pagan origin of where gravy comes from, was the creation of this nasty, creepy, monstrous thing right here in order to worship Pilgrim. So the entire thing, the history that you know of all the Native Americans inviting the Pilgrims into this thing, and then you hear that there was actually like this big genocide, none of that is true. See, what they were planning on doing is sacrificing all of these manifestations to Pilgrim, and so to do that, they were going to first fatten them up, and that's why they were trying to feed them. So once the Pilgrims, as we call them, learned about this evil plot, that's whenever they fought back in a retaliatory fashion.